this morning. My name is Ellie Burns. I am the Director of Nonprofit Relations here at the Community Foundation, and we are so excited today to spend some time sharing some of the resources that we have available through the Community Foundation in 2023. If you have any questions as we go along, I would encourage you to unmute and go ahead and ask them. You can also throw them in the chat box. My colleague Sarah is helping me behind the scenes to make sure we can address all of your questions. And we'll try to leave a few minutes at the end too, in case you want to ask them at that time. I'm going to spend some time sharing about our grant programs and our upcoming training opportunities, as well as a new peer networking opportunity that we're developing. And my colleague, Jordan Richardson, who is the Senior Charitable Giving Advisor at the Community Foundation, is here with me today. And he's going to spend some time talking about the Foundation's Agency Fund program and a few of the ways that you can utilize the Community Foundation to fundraise with non-cash assets. So we're going to go ahead and get started. So I thought it might be a good idea to just start with our website's homepage. And I'm going to just walk through our various resources using our website so that you can easily find the resources that you need after today's session. So this is our homepage and ultimately where you can access everything that we're going to talk about today. Our web address is www.desmoinesfoundation.org. And I'll have Sarah go ahead and throw that in the chat box here during the presentation. Odds are good you're somewhat familiar with our website, but because you're here today, but we thought it might just be a good idea to share it so that you've got it in your back pocket. So along the top of the website, you can see that there's those options in the black bar. And the one that I'm going to be referring to quite a bit today in the session is under that Nonprofit Resources tab. You can see that when you hover over that tab, you get quite a menu of different options. And so I'm just going to walk through those and kind of explain how our resources fit within those different options. And our first one listed there is our nonprofit accounting services. And we like to internally call them NAS. So we're going to go ahead and just talk briefly about the NAS program. The Community Foundation offers professional accounting and administrative services for organizations who might want to spend more time fulfilling their mission and less time on their financial administration. Chris Pete Swanson is our Vice President of Finance and our Controller, and her picture is there. And she is part of an amazing team of accounting professionals that lead the work for this department. And so if your organization is interested in learning more about the nonprofit accounting services, you could talk to Chris about that and potentially get on the wait list for those services. So that's what our first tab is there. The next one that I'm sure everybody is excited to know more about are our grants that are offered through the Community Foundation's Better Together Fund. We have three types of grants: capacity building, strategic alignment, and leadership grants. And you can learn a lot more under that grant making tab. There are handouts and there's overviews, there's videos of previous grant recipients. So I would encourage you, if any of these stand out as an opportunity for your organization, to please visit that site and make sure you check those out. And I'll say this probably multiple times, but I'll start with it as well. We are always more than happy to have a conversation about whether the need in your organization is the right fit for one of these grants. So if you get done with today's session and you think, man, I wonder if this would be the right fit for one of the grants, just reach out and I'm happy to schedule a conversation with you. And in terms of the leadership grants, we do require a conversation prior to submitting an application. So keep that in mind as well. So some of the examples of requests that are well aligned to our capacity building grants include strategic planning, fund development planning, maybe the development or the refinement of DE&I practices. Capacity building grants are often awarded to an organization who would like to bring in a consultant to work on areas of governance or management. And the Community Foundation has a consultant database, which is also one of those tabs that's under that nonprofit resources section. And I'm going to skip to the next screen. I will come back to this screen if I'm moving too quickly. I'm coming back. But I wanted to show you kind of what the page of our consultant database looks like. And so if you're wanting to bring a consultant in to work with your organization on strategic planning, for an example, and you don't already have a consultant in mind, you could go to our consultant database and search for some different options. You can search by keyword. So you could type strategic planning in, maybe you want to type in diversity, equity, and inclusion, and it will help narrow down the search because it's a pretty extensive list of consultants. You do not have to use a consultant within our consultant database. It's just a resource that's there in case you are interested in searching for someone. So back to our grants. There is no deadline on our capacity building grants or our strategic alignment grants. Those grants roll throughout the year, so you can apply at any time. Strategic alignment grants are really designed to help organizations explore or implement shared staffing, maybe to facilitate a dialogue between multiple boards considering a merger, or even for collective planning or assessment among multiple partners that might be seeking to address a community issue. An example of a recent strategic alignment grant that might provide some better clarification would be the grant we awarded to Youth Homes of Mid-America and Youth Emergency Services and Shelters. Those two organizations received a grant to explore whether or not a merger was the right fit, and now we have ellipsis. So the answer there was yes, but the grant is really awarded to an organization to go through that process of the exploration. And a merger might be the result. It might be that you come together to form a program that meets a community need. The max request on those is $25,000, and on the capacity building grants is $5,000. Like I said, I'm more than happy to, connect with you and explore whether one of those grants is the right fit. And I'm not the decision maker on any of our grants. So my job is to just elevate the best ask that we can. And so if there's any ways that I can help you through that process, please don't hesitate to reach out. And then our final grant that's offered through the Community Foundation's Better Together Fund is our leadership grants. And so I will go ahead and go into a little more detail about our leadership grants. So leadership grants are awarded to launch or scale up initiatives positioned to strengthen our community through the 7 key focus areas that are drawn through the community priorities. So you can see those priorities, those focus areas in that handout on the left. And then the Community Foundation does a crosswalk of all of the different community plans. And those are listed in the different colors there on the left and the big screen, the big box on the screen. And those are links. So when you go to our website and you click on this community plans focus areas document, you can get to all of the community plans through this document through those links. When you consider a leadership grant, requests should be aligned to at least one of our focus areas and community plans. There's not an expectation that it's aligned to all 7, and that's probably not realistic, but it does need to be able to speak to at least one of our focus areas. Leadership grants have a spring and a fall cycle. And while there's no minimum or maximum award, grant awards usually fall between $25,000 and $250,000. Like I said earlier, we do require a conversation prior to applying for a leadership grant, and that can be with me and or Angie Detlefs-Trenton, who's our Chief Community Impact Officer here at the Community Foundation. Back to our website, it does have some videos highlighting our past award recipients, and it has this handout with the grant making priorities. We also have a 2-page handout that provides a lot more information about this grant, and each of our grants has one of those handouts, which will kind of walk you through all of the questions that are on the grant application and just give you some insight into what we're going to be looking for when you go to apply for the grant. You do apply for the grant through Manage My Grants, which is also on our website. If you don't have a login, there's information on our website as to how you sign up for that. It's through, when you apply for the capacity building and the strategic alignment grants, you will be filling out basically an online form, and that form is not savable. So I just always encourage everybody to go ahead and do like a Word document draft so that you can just copy and paste your answers into the grant form when that time comes. So some other resources under our nonprofit tab there on the website. The next one is for impact leaders. So this is an overview of the cohort program that the Community Foundation launched just this year. It's a 9-month leadership program focusing on the development of engaged and knowledgeable nonprofit leaders within the greater Des Moines community. Our 2023 class is underway, but if you'd like to learn more or you'd like to consider applying for future cohorts, I just encourage you to watch the site. I think applications will probably be out late spring, early summer this year. We have a tab there called Employment Opportunities, and this is, I think, the Community Foundation's most visited site on our website. We get a lot of traction on the employment opportunities page. Nonprofits are welcome and encouraged to submit employment opportunities on the site. There's a form. If you click on that link, there's a form that you fill out and it'll link directly back to your website to the position description. I've covered the consultant tab that's listed there, and then you can probably imagine what's under the helpful links tab. Helpful links. There's various topics that you might find helpful, everything from just kind of a general catch-all to DE&I, financial management, fundraising, grant writing, governance, HR, PR, volunteer management. There's all sorts of links to different websites and articles and things that you might find helpful as you're going through different work throughout the day. I will come back to that training tab. But I wanted to highlight the Disaster Recovery Fund tab. Just explains the partnership that was created between disaster response and philanthropic organizations in Greater Des Moines to develop a collective strategy for charitable giving during times of disaster. And then we have the Give DSM Marketing Toolkit. So if you're not familiar with our Give DSM site, this is a shot of our current homepage of Give DSM. So Give DSM is a great way for organizations to seek funding for programs that might not be the right fit for one of our grants. You can list one or more asks on the site and just give donors an opportunity to learn more about, your organization and what your current needs are and potentially give towards that. It is a public-facing site, so it's available to anyone. It's not just people who hold a fund here at the Community Foundation. If you've got an idea of something that might be a good fit for Give DSM, you will submit a picture to us. Those pictures are submitted by the organizations themselves. An overview of what it is that you're hoping to raise money for, an amount that you would like to raise, and then you will give us a deadline by which you want to raise those funds. And we will put those up here on the site, and we encourage our donors, we encourage the public, anytime we do any sort of a training or we are promoting Give DSM just as much as we can. You also get the opportunity, you can see there on the page that it says search for a nonprofit, and then it has giving categories. So you determine, you self-identify which category your organization or your ask would fall under. And we have arts and culture, health, housing, a variety of different giving categories. And then we also ask you to identify whether it's a timely need, a capital campaign, or general support. So there's different ways that people can sort when they're searching this site. So if I go back to our main page, you can see there's that Give DSM Marketing Toolkit tab, and that really just takes you to a variety of different helpful things to think about as you're considering putting up an ask on Give DSM. The other tab that we have there is trainings, but along the top of the screen, we also had that tab called events. And so if you click on events, it will take you to all of the upcoming trainings that we've got available through the Community Foundation. So you can see right now, we've got nonprofit top tips for grant seekers is coming up on February 21st. That was a session we offered last year with Grants Plus, who's based out of Ohio, and it was really well received. So we thought we would try again and maybe go a little bit deeper on that material. On March 30th, we are excited to bring in Terry Rich. He's going to facilitate a conversation about creating internal checks and balances in regard to fraudulent activity that can sometimes take place in organizations. And then on April 18th, we have our onboard training. So this is basically talking about the basics of being an effective board member. And this is a training that we do quarterly. So we rotate between offering it in person and virtually. On April 18th is going to be in person. But if that time doesn't work or you're hoping for a virtual training, we'll probably do it again in June or July and then probably October. Under that training tab on the nonprofit resources section of our website, we do have 4 different videos that we highlight during our onboard training and handouts that are downloadable. So if that's something you're interested in maybe walking through with your board, those are accessible and available to you for no cost. We definitely encourage you to check those out. As we go throughout the year, we'll have a variety of additional trainings. We try to listen to what the nonprofits are telling us when we meet with them to talk about grants or challenges that we're facing, and just see if the Community Foundation is the right partner to facilitate or host a training to address those. So if you've got anything that you think, man, I wish the Community Foundation would talk about this, or I wish they would host a presentation on this, please reach out to me, because we try to have some that are a given every year, and then we try to just leave some flexibility so that we can really address the needs of our community. So I have talked a lot, and I'm going to pause right there and hand it over to my colleague Jordan to tell us a little bit about agency funds.
Well, thank you, Ellie. And as we spent the first 15 minutes or so on the nonprofit resources tab of our website, I'm going to shift gears and move one tab to the left on our website to the Your Giving tab, and primarily talk about, as Ellie mentioned, agency funds. So when we think about agency funds, that is our term. You might think of that as synonymous with a nonprofit endowment. If that makes more sense to you, we'll take that name instead. And we can go ahead and go to the next slide here as well. So agency funds, again, synonymous with nonprofit endowment. We have no minimum to start an agency fund. We work with a couple hundred nonprofit organizations, everything from a few $1,000s to a few $1 million and everything in between. So there really isn't a significant barrier of entry for you to get started with us. There's a number of reasons why your organization might be compelled to go this route. And I'll just hit on a few of those here this morning. One is maybe you already have an endowment, or you are thinking about starting an endowment. If you have an endowment and you're thinking about making some changes there, we're always happy to talk with you for a second opinion, or to talk through what makes ours different than what you might be experiencing already. Or, a lot of nonprofits coming out of the pandemic are finding themselves in a different financial situation than they were a few years ago. And maybe now is the time to have a conversation as a staff and as a board around what does it look like to bring some more sustainability and predictability into your financial situation. A lot of times an endowment, like an agency fund, is the right answer for that financial sustainability and stability. The second reason why you might be interested in agency fund is around investments. So maybe you're looking for some investment support as an organization, or some investment efficiency. And I think that's one place where we can come in. And frankly, one area where the Community Foundation will look different than your typical financial institution in the investment space. And the reason I say that is just because of the community and pooled approach to the way that we work. That when you come into the umbrella of the Community Foundation with an agency fund, you're not out going creating your own investment account, but you're adopting our investment committee, our investment portfolios, and really coming alongside us in the world of investments. That can bring it with it some pretty good efficiency to you as an organization. The third reason why you might start an agency fund is maybe you're expecting a planned gift. And while maybe you've been living in this world of annual givers, you've got an opportunity to think a little bit bigger with the planned gift. And that might be the catalyst to move into this world of endowment. Again, someplace where we can really come alongside you in support. And then finally, and this shifts my gears to my next point for you this morning as well, is maybe you're looking for some support around gift acceptance. So you've done a lot of your fundraising through cash assets, and now it's time to think about something a little bit different. So with that, we'll move on to the next slide here and talk a little bit about non-cash assets. So again, we're living in this Your Giving tab of our website under ways to give. and just priming the pump for you on thinking through ways to talk with your donors about gifts other than cash. I love talking about this competing mindset with donors around their finances, that the majority of assets that most people own are not cash. So if you think about your own personal situation, you probably have a checking account and a savings account, but you also probably have a home and a 401k or a life insurance policy, or all these assets that belong to you that don't fit in that checking account. But when we think about the ways that folks give to charity, the majority of giving comes in the form of cash. And I think that there's a lot of opportunity to turn the tables on that. And that's one area where the Community Foundation can really come alongside you in support, and one area where something like an agency fund might be the right move for you as an organization in talking with donors about gifts other than cash. So again, we have this assets to give, ways to give page on our website just to prime the pump on that. But if you think about some of those assets that might be available in your donors' balance sheets, there are assets that are fairly simple, like appreciated securities. And maybe you have a solution for this already, or maybe you don't. But if you've got a donor that wants to give Apple stock to your organization, we can come alongside you and help them do that. And there's great tax benefits to the donor by giving something like Apple stock, in addition to a traditional charitable tax deduction. There's certainly also more complicated assets like real estate, farmland, privately held business interests. So maybe you have a donor that owns a business and they're preparing for retirement or preparing for a merger. And maybe it's time to look at, what if they gave shares of that privately held business to your organization, either through an agency fund or through the Community Foundation direct to you. So we've got simple assets, we have more complicated assets, and we frankly also have weird assets. So you see here on the left-hand side of your screen, one of the options is cryptocurrency. We adopted that into our gift acceptance policy a few years ago. And something that's available to any of you through the Community Foundation as well, if you've got a donor that wants to give a cryptocurrency gift to your organization. I mentioned that agency fund is one of the avenues to facilitate a gift of one of these asset types, but I don't want to leave you without the other option on the table too, that we do offer what we can call pass-through gifts as well. So if giving into the endowment is not the right strategy for your donor or for you, we can facilitate a gift of one of these assets types on your behalf direct to you. We do all of the legwork and then ultimately hand you a check for the proceeds. And in that case, we do charge a modest pass-through gift fee. But at the end of the day, you get a check into your checking account for that gift. And I'll turn it back over to Ellie to take it home.
Great, thanks, Jordan. Appreciate that information. So this is a picture of the Community Foundation's C3 Center, which will be at 1910 Ingersoll, and it's continuing to progress. We are just thrilled about the potential that this space is going to offer for the community. The C3 Center will be a hub for connection, collaboration, and community. And it's designed for community convenings, nonprofit trainings, leadership development, and just as a gathering space for the 501c3 nonprofit sector to grow and thrive. And one of the many opportunities that's going to take place in the C3 Center in these next upcoming months is an opportunity for some nonprofit partners to build a stronger sector through relationships. And we are going to have a variety of different hour-long monthly conversations called Colleague Connect conversations. And the outcome of those is increased potential for cooperation and collaboration, drive for new concepts, and just the chance to network with your peers and challenge some assumptions that you might have in your day-to-day work. So stay tuned for more information about those conversations and how you can register and apply to be a part of those. We're just kind of in the process of mapping all of that out right now, and so we're really excited about the potential that has in the future. The final thing that I wanted to talk about was just our newsletter. And so this is a snapshot of the very bottom right-hand side of our website. No matter what page you're on, you can subscribe to our newsletter. And the best way to stay up to date on our grant programs, our trainings, the developments at the C3 Center is through this monthly NPO link. We only send you those things, and it's only once a month, so you won't get all this extra email from us, we promise. So if you're not already signed up, I would highly encourage you to do so. And I think my colleague Sarah is going to go ahead and throw the link to sign up in the chat box too, so that you'll have access to that. There's the contact information for me and my colleague Jordan. We are always happy to answer any questions that you might have now or after the session. And so with that, I'll say thank you so much for joining us. We're happy to stay on and answer anything that might come up. Otherwise, we will see you in the community soon.